Roy Sparks building looked like. Then Ralph Kimsey come in and put a grocery store in there.
Yeah,
Old
yeah.
Masonic Lodge there, when he first come into town.
And then he built the one across the road, I think. didn't he?
Yes, he did, where the hunting place is
That's-
now, above Noblets.
That's the one they said he had one broom in there.
Oh, yeah, he sold it, no telling how many times.
Yeah, I remember that now, the buildings there, you know. And I guess you back up on years ago, before my time and everything, where the Texaco station is and the vacant lot next to it there. There was two motels, or hotels there. I
Yeah, the
think.
Burns Hotel and the,
Johnson,
maybe, I don't remember.
Hooper was,
Yeah, well, the Hoopers were, I just don't know.
The guy that built it was quite a designer as far as making trim and everything for those buildings. I can't think of his name. But that was in the days when timber was, they were cutting a lot of timber in this area, over on Shooting Creek there. Ritter Lumber Company.
Right,
They had a big sawmill in Hayesville down there. What's strange about that, I was up in Virginia one time, and had CB radio, and the mic quit on me. So I stopped at a shop there that sold CBs in Christiansburg, I think it was, getting a part, I think, to fix the mic. Anyway, something to do with the mic. So the old boy run the place, he said, "Well, where are you from?" And I said, "Well, I live in a little town down in North Georgia." He said, "Where?" And I told him. He said, "Hiawassee." He said, "Do you know where Shooting Creek is?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I worked for Ritter Lumber Company down there years ago." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You know what I remember about that?" I said, "What?" He said, "There were so many bootleggers there." He said that what they finally started doing was they just started wearing a name tag, like a name tag, that said, "I sell it too," so they wouldn't try to sell to each other, he said.
but now the cables, here's a picture of the cables. You know, one of the granddaughters is back over there, is renovating that building.
Well, I see that somebody was cleaning it up, and they had a
Right,
roll
she's-
back in there, and,
Yeah, she's a very artistic lady.
Yeah.
She's the one that's doing the murals
well,
on the
Miss
wall.
Cable, she was kind of a hoarder anyhow, you know. She bought some furniture from my mother when we closed the house up on Kelly Road over there.
Oh, really?
She had an old bedroom set that
That she
had
come
been
and
around
bought,
a long
yeah.
time. She couldn't live without that, so she bought that. So.
Yeah.
Okay, now, wait a minute.
This is Cable's here, standard,
Yes,
right there. John, wasn't that his name, John Cable?
I think so. Gerald, no, I was at school with him. And,
I just know that Kim Kirkendall, Bill had the barber shop there, Bill Kirkendall next to it. The beauty and barber shop next to the Cables right in there.
Yeah.
And their daughter Kim, she said she didn't know how many whippings she got. She loved to go visit Jeanette Cable, that was Jerry's wife.
Yeah.
Said she's the most fun of anybody. She said, I didn't know she was drunk. Said, I'd go over there and I'd just have a good old time.
Oh, gosh.
But that's who's back here, is one of the grandkids.
where's she from?
Yeah. Well, usually, that's where they went, Akron, Canton, or Detroit,
Yeah.
Detroit, Michigan. And some people went to Cleveland, but Canton was steel mills mainly there, Timken Roller Bearing, Hercules Engine Company was there, D. Bolts, safes, built bank safes and all.
Oh, good.
Timken Roller Bearing, they were the biggie there, and Republic Steel had a plant there too. And Ford had a drop forge plant there. They made gears for transmissions and rear ends. So one of them we didn't cover before was Edward Saltz. Do you remember Salty Dog?
I have never heard that.
Well, he was in high school with us. Edward Saltz. S-A-L-T-Z, I think it was.
Well, I know there's some in Hayesville by that last name.
Yeah. His father was I think had a sawmill or something there. Well, he was in the same year with me and Joel Turpin and,
And the
Bob
last name was
Gregory and
Salts?
Salts, yeah. We used to call him Salty Dog.
Salty Dog,
Yep.
okay.
It seemed like his family was from around Hayesville, somewhere over there.
Well, see, the Salts family owns just about everything up Tusquety.
Okay, yeah. He was offshoot of that, and he went to high school over there.
Okay.
Well, here in Hiawassee,
And his first name was what?
yeah. Edward.
Edward Salts.
Yep. So we used to call him Salty Dog.
Maybe he just wanted to come over here so he'd be around the girls.
Yeah, we had Ms. Brown and Ms. Meadows. They came about the same time. You remember Ms. Brown? She just out of school, cute little gal.
No,
Remember,
never.
I can still see her today. Remember, she had bangs and kind of hair.
No, now that's news to me.
She was mean.
I love that. Oh, she was mean. She was cute, but she was
was
mean.
Yeah. Well, some of us, see, she had to put up with me and Salty Dog, okay, and Joel Turpin, Von Nichols there.
Is that the Von Nichols they found dead up?
Yeah, yeah.
Ohio or-
Abner's boy.
Okay.
He drank even when he was in school.
Oh,
We were in Mitch McConnell's homeroom.
Pauline McComb?
Yes. That was our homeroom, and she would always have prayer every morning. Well, Vaughn, he would get out of his desk and on one knee, and he'd pray louder than anybody else in there. Of course, a lot of times he's about a half drunk anyhow. So, and then as we finished up, he would always say, "Amen," out real.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my God. So, but Miss Brown, she had that group to put up with.
Did she last very long up here? I don't.
Yeah, Miss Meadows stayed. She was just out of college, okay? No, I say she was mean. What she would do is if you were talking or something, and she would tell you to shut up. And if you didn't shut up, she'd come over and she'd give you one of these right there.
Oh, my God.
And I said, shut up. So,
Lord, she'd
But
be
like
in
I
jail.
said,
She'd
she
be
was
in
cute.
jail now.
but she was cute, okay?
Well, she didn't know what else to do, did
Well,
she?
all of us boys liked her.
So Edward Salts, I don't.
Yep.
I just figured they were all from Hayesville.
And there were some of the Reinhardt girls were in there, Levi's kids, you know.
Okay.
God, he had a bunch. I don't know how in the hell he ever raised that many in that little shack on the side of the hill over there.
Right, because, yeah,
It wasn't about 2 rooms.
that's Bobo's daddy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
HL or whatever.
Yeah, H.L. Yeah, Levi was his name. They had Daphne and Betty Sue, and there were some others that were older than that, and some younger than I was too. But I can remember them, they were in school. But he had a bunch of them there.
Bert Woods is the woman that I was trying to
Yeah.
think of yesterday.
Yeah.
She married Bull Hurst over in Franklin whenever she decided to get married
When
again.
Pope died,
Yeah.
she used to have, the only gay guy we knew of in town used to live with her. You remember him? But he was very feminine.
Well, the one across the street was, and that's Earl Devers.
That's what I'm thinking about. Some of them used to say, oh, he's not that way. And I remember I come home, I was stationed in New Orleans there. They'd come home on leave, and Smitty's wife was running a restaurant down there across from where Noblins is now.
That little building there, yeah.
The stone building there.
Ethel.
Ethel, yeah. And I was in there having a cup of coffee one morning, and Earl came in. And he got to talking, he said, oh, you're in the Navy, you know, and this and that, where are you stationed, this and that. I said, I'm stationed down New Orleans. Oh, I love New Orleans, he says. He said, you know where the Le Rendezvous Club is? And I said, I knew where it was at, but I said, no, I don't think I know where that is. And he said, I visit New Orleans sometimes, and I go down there. Well, it was a gay bar, and it was on just off of Canal Street there. I'm trying to think. It was on down quite a ways down the French Quarter. Well, hell, you had to know about it if you was in the Navy because it was on the off-limits board. Okay, the places you weren't supposed to go. They had another one that was back up on Royal Street. I'm trying to think of. Just off of Royal Street, Size Starlit Lounge. And that's where the ladies hung out. And that was off limits. New Orleans was a pretty wild town.
Yeah, Mr. Earl Devers.
Yeah.
And when Andersons took over the store down there, Earl lived downstairs in the basement.
Yeah.
Because the one section was where Earl lived, and the other section is where we put out the Towns County Herald, Preacher Hutchins did. Claudine Noblet and Linda and I every Friday morning.
And then they moved out to where the old post office used to be.
Oh, yeah, the Towns County Herald.
Yes, back when Frank Corn carried the mail to Clayton.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and L.P. Cross was the one that printed it over at Clayton.
Mm-hmm. Cross printing, yeah.
Somebody says, well, how do you remember all that? Well, I was in town, dear God. I was lucky. I got to come to town every Friday morning.
And your Mary Will,
Was my aunt.
your aunt,
Right.
she was a visiting teacher then.
Yeah, she was the first visiting teacher here in
Yeah.
Hiawassee.
He'd come around, I remember at Lower Hightower, Fred Walls was teaching at that time. Anybody was caught smoking, he took the hickory to us, okay? And you had to go out and cut the hickories, bring them in. Well, what we got to doing, we'd take the knife and we would ring them. And when he'd give a swarp with it, break in the face.
Oh, and he'd get mad.
So he started cutting his own, but he got bigger ones. And I remember Miss Phillips come once to visit, she desk there on this aisle and a desk here, and one of the hickories is laying across there, and she hung her coat on. Well, what if Fred's hickory? Boy, he used to whack us good.
But didn't Fred teach over in Tate City?
May have at one time, yeah,
Yes, that's what I've been told.
but he used to go there at Lower Hightower.
That's where he
School.
met Carrie, was over at Tate City, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. He used to go up on the bank there, pretty close to Ed Moss's. They lived right next door to the school there. There was some broom sage up there, Gracie area, and Fred would go up there and eat his lunch and sometimes take a nap, and we wouldn't wake him up. We'd keep playing ball and one thing and another, and Fred would be over snoozing away, so. Another one I
Now,
remember.
Morris Phyllis wasn't your age, was he?
Yeah, Morris was, Morris may have been, how old is he now?
I knew you were going to ask, and I'm not sure. He's 80-something.
Yeah, well, I'm 87, so he had a O's 88. And we used to drag around the square and squeal tires and everything up there. And Charlie Hicks was the deputy then, Fred. Charlie and Maud.
God, they were a couple.
Before we get off of Charlie and Maud there, did Ralph Kimsey ever tell you about Ralph married Margie? So
Right?
he'd be up there eating at Charlie and Maud sometimes, and he said, Charlie told Maud there one evening, come in to eat, and he said, Maud, this cornbread ain't fit for a dog to eat. And she said, you think so? And he said, I know so. She walked over and picked up a pound of cornbread, opened the back door and said, let's see it. She just threw it out the damn dogs there. And Charlie kind of, like, I didn't really want to see my cornbread go. But Ralph, he used to kind of hag them on, him and Margie did, get them fighting a little bit, you know. And Maud, well, you
Well, yeah, Maud was,
She
yeah.
was fiery anyhow, you know. So anyway, but, no, they, was talking about Morris. He came
Morris
along-
is born in 36,
Okay, it's 34, so 2 years.
2 years,
Yeah.
yeah.
But he come around the square in that O's 88, went through the gas pumps in the store part, shoo, through that, out into the street, and he stepped on it again about in front of Duckworth Store then. You remember they used to
Right,
have
Duckworth,
water pipes to hold the roof up there, right?
right.
And the O's A8 stalled on him, carburetor flood. There. Morris is trying to get it started. Well, he's hiding on the square, gonna catch some of us out there, raising hell. No. So he come over and he told Morris, he said, he had an old hog leg there, he had an old pistol that got the barrel, looked like 8 inches, like a cannon, you know. He said, move over, I'm taking you out to jail. Morris said, you ain't driving my damn car nowhere. And Charlie said, just drive then. And he laid that hog leg right through the window there and followed Morris, walked with him all the way out to the jail.
Morris used to say he was probably the only one in Towns County that the deputy walked him to jail.
Yeah. You ask Morris, he'll tell you about it now. So.
You people used to aggravate them to death when you come in
Yeah.
from Atlanta.
Well, what
Was it? They'd always yell, "Cocky, catch him, I can't."
Yeah. Well, he had a high-pitched voice, Ed did, you know. Down at the Gulf Station, Nelson Chastain and Jerry Turpin and all, they were always going,
Hot rod.
cut a donut in the street, come back in and stop, and there was a couple of old school bus seats sitting out in front there. We used to hang out, sit out there in them, you know. And they'd jump out of the car and go sit down. And here come Ed down there. Who's that down here squalling them tires? So it's that bunch of soldiers going back to Fort Jackson. Every damn time I come down here, it's soldiers going to Fort Jackson, he says, you know. Yeah, we used to bother Ed quite a bit there. Nelson and some of them one night, the highway patrol, they parked up on the hill by where Dr. Nicholson lives there, okay?
Up on Tater Ridge.
Yeah, on Tater Ridge there, and parked up there, and you could walk down to the Gulf Station. So they went up there and hid, and they were gonna catch us speeding down there. Well, they did get, I think they got Nelson, wrote him a ticket, and this and that, and they had walked down there, so they left their car parked up on the hill. Well, what they didn't know, while they were gone, Jerry, or one of them, went up there and let the air out of both back tires on the highway patrol car. Then they come back down there, and they wanted the tank, you know,
Air tank.
air tank to fill it up. Edward said, I don't have one. He wouldn't let him have the tank.
Oh, God. I know. Boy, there's some wild stories back then.
Oh, yeah. We used to have quite a time. So.
I know, Nugent said one time, I don't remember, I think he had a Plymouth maybe, I can't remember. Nugent Bell had a Plymouth.
Yeah.
And Jerry said, that, you know.
Had a 59. He got, first come out, they had them tail fence
Okay.
that come up, you know.
Well, anyway, he said that, Jerry said, he said, let's race down the road, Nugent. And so he said, here, I set sail down there, and I wasn't going to let Jerry pass me. Little did I know it was the state patrol. They took his license for a year, and him with the grocery store. He had to hire somebody to bring him to work.
Well, we used to race the dead straight down there.
Oh, yeah.
We'd start off out by the bridge. Of course, if there's anybody coming, you can see the headlights, you know, anyhow. So, and back then, there wasn't that much traffic.
No.
You know. So we would go ahead and start side by side right there at the bridge and go all the way up to where 288 cuts off there now. And I had a 56 Ford, and mine would run about 106 through there. And Nelson, I had a 4-door, and he had a 2-door. And he could get about 118, so he'd always pass me through there. I couldn't outrun him. But Farrell Presley, he had his daddy's car, okay, and he had a 56 Ford. I had a 56 Ford. And both of ours was automatic transmission, too. And me and him would go through, and it was kind of like this, just back and forth, you know. And if you seen a car come over the hill, of course, shut it down, you know, got back in.
You figured it was the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wayne Caldwell from Blairsville, he had, his daddy bought him new cars all the time. He had polio, remember? And he had his car fixed. The clutch was extended because he couldn't use that leg. He'd use the other one, the brake and the gas. So when he shifted, it would, he'd hit the clutch and shift about the same time, and the front end of the thing would come right up, you know. And we used to call him the speed shifter there.
Speed shifter.
Yeah. Yeah, he come across the hill in Young Harris, there by the old Union Cemetery, running about 115. And who'd he meet? The Highway Patrol, right there. Wayne just let off of it, went on down the road about, down by the EMC, and just pulled over down there. Highway Patrol come over. Of course, he knew him, and I forgot who was the patrolman. But anyway, he told me, he said, "Wayne, how fast were you going there?" Wayne told him, he said, "Well, a little bit over 100. And he said, "Well, I figured you were." Now, he said, "Since you were truthful with me, you didn't lie to me about it, I'm just going to write you up for 60 in a 55 zone, you know, so he wouldn't get a real bad ticket."
Wouldn't get his insurance canceled.
Yeah, and license probably pulled. You
Yeah.
know. So,
Hunter, we need to talk about Homer Hunter.
Homer Hunter.
Yeah, how much do you know about Homer Hunter?
I
I
don't-
found out last night, I had forgotten that until I said something to Chris. Howard Owens, did you ever know Howard Owens? Married Bessie Ledford,
Yeah,
the twins, Bessie and Jesse. They live there on Bugscuffle.
Yeah.
Howard Owens.
his son was the postmaster there for.
Yeah,
well, he
Larry.
retired.
Yeah, Larry.
Yeah.
Larry's dad.
Yeah.
All right. Homer Hunter was Howard Owens' uncle. They came in here from Banks County.
Oh, okay. Now, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Homer, I don't know a whole lot, just a few things about Homer, because a lot of times, you know, after
Well, about the phone upstairs, we need to,
the phone there, yeah.
need to,
So,
that's basically it. He was there on Main Street, wasn't he?
yeah, Homer ran the Sinclair
But he
station.
wasn't he close to the Messrs Dodge?
Yeah, next door.
And then O'Quinn's was up from there?
Well, what they did, they come in and they built that whole center in there. O'Quinn had a pure oil station. okay?
Right.
And below that, then they started and they built, O'Quinn got out of the service station business and opened the Five and Dime store
Right there,
right
right.
there,
Yeah.
next to the service station, okay? Then Smitty, he came in and he put a restaurant in there. He was also the game warden at that time.
Right.
And so then Messer come in and he built the Plymouth place next door to that. And then Homer was the next guy. And then Dick Parrish come in and he built the hardware store beyond Homer there, okay? And plus they had a mill, feed mill out in back. Well, you could get grind cornmeal or,
Was that part of C.L. Young's place?
I'm not sure who owned it, but Buren Foster
Ran
used
it.
to ran it.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
Buren Foster ran it.
Yeah.
You're right.
He ran that.
But now
And-
C.L.
and-
Young had his egg plant behind,
Up where Blanche's.
yeah, in that
restaurant-
vicinity.
Yeah, and Duckworth's store, he was out back, where
Yeah.
where the hardware's got their lumber and all stored there now.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people work for C.L. Young back there, the women especially.
Yeah, Bernice Powell, she worked there, and Miss Bond, remember her?
Yes, Miss Bond.
They would sex the chickens, separate the roosters from the hens and all that, and took care of the hatchery, I think, over there.
Right.
Because CL had a hatchery. And I know CL was always up and down with things. He'd owe Ernest some money once in a while on gas and stuff at the Texaco station. He'd say, now hang on to that check. He said, it ain't good today, but said it'll be good in a few days, you know. So Ernest would just put it back and wait. Sure enough, he usually paid him, you know. But they had that. And there before they built the hardware, feed mill, one that Buren Foster run, was up next to Duckworth's store. You remember there's an old foundation there that nothing was ever on it for a long
Right,
time?
uh-huh.
And before my time and all, I was told back during the CCC days and Ritter Lumber Company days, that was a bowling alley, a 10-pin bowling alley, the small balls, you know. And they moved that out, took that flooring out and everything. They left just
Foundation.
foundation there. It was there for a long time, and before they ever took it out. But the feed mill was there next to it, about where was it Nojo Nichols had the beauty shop?
Right, yes, it's in the back of that there.
Well, that was in there, right in that area. And then when they built the hardware, they built that store, or the feed mill in back, right across from where Oscar and Bernice lived there.
Yes. Mhm.
So, well, the church was there before, different one than what's there now. It was just a wood structure there.
It's Methodist Church.
Methodist Church, yeah. Elaine England, she lived across the road over there from next to what later became the post office.
Right, right. Her house is still standing.
And another thing we didn't touch on, one of the highlights of the summer for Hiawassee, we had a tent show.
A tent show. Yeah,
There was a guy came, I don't know the fellow's name, but he put a tent out where Ingles' store is now, that pasture there.
yeah, because I remember Morris talking about that.
And we used to go out there and go to the tent show. And he ran all summer. And then school started and all, he'd close out fall of the year and then come back in the spring.
He had like magic tricks and,
Sometimes, yeah. He'd have a special, but usually back then they used to have a cereal, okay? And every Saturday, you'd get another episode of it. The guy would jump off the train or the train would crash and all, and you wondered if he got killed or not. And then the next Saturday, you picked up the next episode, and he actually had jumped off just before the crash. Okay, well, soap opera type thing was going then. But they had a lot of the movies of Bob Steele and Ken Maynard. And
oh, that's what
Gibson
they did. They showed the movies.
Yeah, regular movies, and I think he used to charge us kids a dime to get in. If you didn't have the money after the cartoons got over and they got started into the main thing, if you were still hanging around outside, you'd say, why don't you go on in and watch the movie?
And he would come in here from somewhere, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes we wanted to see the whole thing, we would sneak under the tent. I got pulled out by my feet one time. Didn't make it all the way in.
Out you came.
What are you doing?
Now, do you remember when the fair came?
Yes. My father built one of the first floats.
Okay, that's good.
he built a house, an old cabin, out of slabs, okay? And he, for the chimney thing, he took an old washpot, an old black washpot, and put corn cobs in it, build a fire, and then smoke coming out, like chimney.
Didn't Pearl Lee ride on that float? Charlie Lee's wife, Pearl.
She might have, but we had, at that time, we were keeping Lassie Eller, okay, with Rudy Eller's sister.
Okay.
Her mother was Ruth Eller. She was married to Vaughn up on St. Bronx
Okay.
area up there. And Ruth died, and Terry and Rudy and the other kids, some of them lived with Vaughn for a while, and Lassie was the girl, and she come and lived with us.
Lassie lived with you.
And Mama wanted to keep her and adopt her,
Lassie Eller.
And, but Vaughn let some people in Clarksville, I think, have her over there. The Foster family and the Burrows and all didn't think too much of Vaughn.
Oh, okay.
If I remember right, he was crippled too. He had a bad leg or something. But anyway.
I just remember that Pearl Lee was on a float one time with a house.
That might have been the one when Lassie and they had the bonnets on,
Right.
And the whole thing, and Daddy was sitting on the front porch, and they had it on the back of a truck, on the truck bed. And that was when it first started at the high school.
Right, exactly.
And they had exhibits in the rooms, okay, in the high school building, and the gymnasium had stuff in there. I know the Forest Service used to bring in all.
And the women used to bring their canning stuff in,
Yeah.
and the 4-H members got to put display their exhibits in the gym.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
used to sing in the auditorium.
The singing was in the auditorium, right.
And then the tent went up.
Yeah.
After the athletic club graded all that off, then they brought the tent in and put it up. Then you waded the mud.
Well, see, they always had a problem. The end of the playground there of the high school was down toward the main highway.
Yeah, to where the bank is.
Well, the damn leach field for the sewer used to overrun down there, and that got muddy.
And when the fair
Some-
come, you just waded through the sewer.
Yeah, maybe when they got the sewer in. But anyway, no, and that went on then, and somewhere I've got a picture of Governor
Lester Maddox,
Lester Maddox riding his bicycle somewhere there. I don't know where it's at.
riding backwards. It's in this book.
Here, it
Yeah,
is.
it is.
Yeah. I remember when he came up and did that also.
You got Uncle Short to make 100 axe handles for him.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do with them, but
Well, he used them in his restaurant, remember?
probably.
He said there wasn't no blacks going to eat in his restaurant down there. So then wound up being one of his best friends, and they traveled and did a show together.
Right.
But
Yeah, the fair was
Yeah.
a big thing back in
Oh,
the
yeah.
day. Woo.
Stovenoff, he helped get that going. Betsy's father,
Yeah, Betsy's dad.
yes.
And also the Ian
Insurance.
Nicholson
Yeah.
and Tabor.
Tabor, he
Yeah.
was the insurance guy.
Yeah, out of LJ, wasn't he?
LJ, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they promoted that.
Started off small, and then they were lucky they could lease that property down there from the county.
Yeah.
So they could go out there.
Yeah.
If they work at it hard enough, it can come back and be just as big as it ever was.
Yeah.
But they overprice it, see?
Yeah.
You can't overprice something.
Yeah, now then, they can't get anyone to come for rides and all, for the fall festival. because there's not enough money. Kids are back in school and all that, and they don't show up.
Well, did you notice they brought a bulldozer in
Yeah.
for the ball field?
Trying to straighten it out. Well, you may remember, before the fair, we used to have the carnivals would come once in a while, and they used to set up below the old courthouse there.
That's before my day now.
Well, no, you probably was,
Well, sometimes, I don't recall it, okay? I don't
Well-
say that it didn't happen.
I'd say, they were still doing that in the late 40s. I remember they used to have those swings. They still got, the chain where they out around and all that. And those kids used to try to get a job down there when the fair would come, or when the carnival would come. And a couple of times, I got with a job with the guy that had the milk bottles. You had 3 on the bottom and 2 on the top, and you had to knock them down with a baseball. And you had to get them completely down, okay? And if you got them off, you got the big prize. But if you didn't get them all off, you got a little knick-knack thing. It wasn't worth what you paid to play for it, but anyway. But what a lot of people didn't know is the 3 bottom ones were leaded. The bottoms of them were heavy. The 2 top ones were very light, okay? There's 3 on top, 2 and then a pyramid, You had to knock them down to get the prize, and if you want the big prize, you had to knock them all off. Because it's kind of hard to get them bottom ones off, because they go over, but they didn't move off too good because they were heavy. And the other thing I remember they used to have was, they had a small bowling pin, and they had a kind of a V set up on the table here, had a little rail on each side. This bowling pin sat right in the middle of that. And you had one of those duck pin bowling balls. It had a screw in it with an eyelet, and had a chain hooked on it, You had it hooked, there's a booth there, And what you did, you'd swing that ball out and let it come back and knock the pin down. And they would give you some free shots. There's nothing to it. Go ahead and do it, Jack. Boom, knock it down. And then when you started putting some money on it, it didn't seem to be able to knock it down as well. And what they did do, nobody, I don't think ever challenged them on it. But when the guy would let you practice, he would say, "Here, take a free shot." And he would put the ball in your hand, and you'd come over and he'd go out, boom, knock it down, okay? When you paid, he said, "Here, take the ball and knock it over." And he put a little half twist on it. Then when you swung out, he'd come over here and miss that, because it unwinded,
Yeah.
So, anyway, another game of chance there they had. Then I remember they used to have, you put money down on which hole had a mouse, okay, a live mouse. And you were betting on which hole they would spin the wheel around, and he had the mouse here under, had a little box over him, and they would just raise that up and let the mouse run. Sometimes you run this way, sometimes that way, and you go in one of those holes. And some of them would say, "Oh, he's got cheese in that hole." No, he didn't have no cheese. The thing of it was that he didn't turn the mouse loose, but he got a lot of people playing, and wherever the damn mouse went, he still made money, because the stuffed animal he was giving them wasn't near what he took in from the wheel, But yeah, they used to play that. And then they had the dishes. Those dishes are worth money now, the carnival stuff.
Oh, yeah, that carnival glass, yes, it is.
And you would throw, I think it was a nickel or a dime, I think it was.
It's a nickel, I think.
You would toss it, and whatever, if it went in a cup, you got the cup. Or if it hit the plate stage, you got the plate. the nicer ones were real hard to get. Entertainment we had for summer, and then once in a while, I'll have to tell you this, when they'd have a little circus come, and have maybe a couple of elephants, you know. You probably remember that. They have it same place down below the courthouse there. And I'll have to tell you about this. It was 1957. This is a Monday morning, but me and Doug Arnold and probably Ernest had been partying the night before.
We're talking about Ernest Nobley?
Ernest Nobley, yes. I had an appointment at Ford Motor Company in Atlanta that Monday morning. I'd got up pretty early and headed for Atlanta, see about getting a job at Ford over there. Start down the mountain, and we'd had a little shine the night before and all, so I rounded a curve, and here's a damn elephant coming up the side of the road. And I said, I don't know what we had last night, but am I seeing things or what? And this guy's leading a damn elephant up the road. Well, what happened, the old truck they had wouldn't haul the elephants up. So they led the elephant to the top of the mountain and then brought the truck up and loaded him back up. You know. But I never forgot that.
I bet you didn't.
Elephant in Hiawassee. Oh.
You didn't drink no more of that, did you?
No. And then went on to Ford and didn't get a job anyhow. So anyway, but yeah, those little carnivals would come, and I remember they had the elephants and all that. So, and that was, well, there wasn't any. There wasn't any entertainment in this area. At that time, if they didn't have the tent show, the closest movie you'd get would be the Hen or the Dickey Theater in Murphy. And then Guy built the theater in Hayesville.
Curtis.
So then that made it a little better. You could go down there, and but usually not everybody had a car. Remember I was talking about Douglas Arnold there. He lived on, he had an old Model A, 1920-something Model A. So what we used to do on either Saturday, usually on Sunday, after church on Sunday, we would get enough money to get 50 or 75 cents worth of gas. We used to get in Hamilton, Miles Hamilton's, and then old pump, hand pump, pumping it up in the glass. And then, we'd get enough gas to put in Doug's Model A, and we'd go to Hayesville, and then we'd have enough maybe left for the movie. You'd have enough gas to come back and get home and go to church Sunday night. Now sometimes we'd go take a few eggs out of the hen house and trade them for gas. I know Mother used to say, those hens aren't laying too good. You could swap 2 eggs, you could get a pack of peanuts and a big RC, But you had to be careful sometimes. I have had eggs break in my pocket too.
Oh, no.
That didn't work.
Tell me about the phone, Homer Hunter.
Okay. A lot of people worked in Ohio and Detroit, this and that. If they had to get a hold of somebody up there, maybe sickness in the family or something, at that time, the only phone they had was right in Hiawassee there. And Sampson, she run the... Francis, there you go. She ran the phone office out there, and that was located about where...
Linda's place is.
Well, just beyond Linda's there, on the corner.
It's a big hotel thing.
Yeah, it was a 2-story building. I remember they had all the cables running in there, from the phone company. But anyway, so Homer had a switchboard in the back room of the Sinclair station there. And they'd go down there, and so somebody'd want to make a call that they want to call Canton, Ohio, and here's the number, and Homer couldn't dial the number, but he could call Murphy and give them the number and have them connected, and then you go there and you could talk over his switchboard. But when it come to, and Homer did cuss a lot, like about every other word. And he would go in there, and I remember the old switchboard he had. He'd go ahead and he'd plug into Murphy there, and he'd get a hold of the crank on the side, and he'd crank that up, and he'd say, "God damn it, Murphy, answered the phone." And he'd keep on. He finally got the operator and Murphy, and then give her the number, and they would call it. And
How much did it cost to do that?
I don't know, because I never made any calls, never had that much money, really, to call anybody. Long-distance calls at that time were not cheap,
No.
and that's why people didn't make very many unless, boy, they really absolutely had to. You couldn't just go in and dial it. Then later, Standard began to put out some during the county, and you had party lines. A lot of it was. I know my mother was on the party line up there. You would have to, somebody else on the phone, you'd have to wait till they get off, and,
Or listen to them.
or listen to it, yeah. So, then that finally got better where they'd have a two-party line. There wouldn't be maybe one other party on with you, and we were making progress. And the electric company, we didn't cover that. The only power you had was up to the River Road. That was 1946.
And who had it?
I'm not sure. It may have been Georgia Power,
Okay.
because Hiawassee had power. They had electric service then. And it stopped at River Road there. Well, then the REA was approved. Roosevelt put that in. The nice thing about that, before, with the independent companies, if you lived a mile off of where they had a line, you had to pay the cost of running that line to your house. And it could get pretty expensive. And they charged so much a pole to run it out. But when REA come in, it didn't make any difference. They run electric to all the houses, if you wanted it. The people that were doing most of it then was Esco Sugar. And he would wire your house, and he'd charge you $1 a drop. 3 lights is $3. He'd charge you to wire it in. Plug in was $1. Whole thing. Before that, before they got that, we lived Lower Hightower, well, where Scataway Road is, lived in an old log house over there. And across from where JT and them lived, JT Burrow, my uncle. Before that, Gaither Foster and Homie and his family. Ruby Dent was later Ruby Dent, Ruby Burrow, or Ruby Foster.
Now, Ola Foster, now who is,
She was married to, it's a different group of Fosters.
Okay,
She was
all right.
married to Adam Foster's
really?
son, Willis.
Okay.
Yeah, she was married to Willis. And Willis had brother Truett, sister Mildred.
But you lived up there at Piscataway.
Yeah, we lived in an old, it's basically 2 rooms, and, well, it had an upstairs, but it wasn't finished. I mean, it's just the roof, it's a board roof. And there was a few leaks, and there had some buckets up there to kind of catch those. And the house was log and had the fireplace was stone and clay, mud. I remember it had a metal bar across the fireplace. You could hang a pot on there to cook stuff over in the pot. And cornbread. They used to have a Dutch oven, I guess you'd call it. And put the cornbread in it, put the hot coals and fire on that, cook your cornbread there. And lamplight. We had kerosene lamp. It was actually basically one room, and if you wanted a little privacy, they'd hang a sheet across half of it. Then the kitchen was on the end and just kind of sloped off, had the kitchen there. And that was it. And the upstairs, it had some beds up there, and I can remember staying, we didn't, there were just three of us when we lived over there, but when Omi and Gaither and all of them lived over there, a lot of times I'd go spend the night with Truett, Truman, and them, and we'd sleep upstairs. And if you could see some stars through some of the holes in the roof up there, but, it was,
You were away from home and had a good time.
yes, a couple of years older than I was, but they were the closest ones I had for, playmates and all. And we walked to school at Upper Hightower. Miss Elton Sprinkles was teaching up there then.
Who?
Elton Sprinkles.
Then you had to work too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Out on the farm?
Yeah, we had, there was some bottom land below us. We raised corn and always had a big garden and all that. And carried water from the spring. We had no running water. We didn't have 2 rooms and a bath. We had 2 rooms and a bath.
I love that. 2 rooms and a bath.
Yeah.
That's neat.
And a Sears catalog and a lot of corn cobs. I used to tell them, and somebody would talk about outhouses, and I'd tell them, I said, we had 2 buckets. We had some with, one bucket had red cobs and one bucket had white cobs. And you used the red cob, then you used the white cob to see if you need to use another red cob. The progress and all that was being made came slow, but now everybody wants to be up here. Well, the lake, that brought
It brought the fishing camps, didn't it?
Yeah. To start with, and even in the 50s, people would come up here fishing, and they had a few cabins and this and that. Well, down next to you there, the cabins there.
The Robinsons had cabins.
Yeah.
The Haddons had cabins.
Yeah.
Then Manship came in and bought those. And then Lena Gregory had cabins,
Yeah.
remember?
Well, who's got those next to your old home place there? They just took the asbestos shingles off of it.
Oh, Kate Pass's place.
Oh, okay.
Kate Pass. Now, see, that's where Uncle Short lived.
Yeah.
I lived down closer to the lake on the opposite side over there. Yeah, that's where Kate Pass. And that was always very interesting to me because Kate Pass, W.T. Hunt lived with her. Because I used to go down there and clean those cabins.
Yeah.
W.T. is there. Where'd he come from? She'd lived down at Hayesville. She's married to Fred Pass. When he died, she moved up there and bought that place.
Yeah.
And W.T. was there. Well, I was looking through old TVA records, and guess who come in here to go around to see if they could talk people into selling their place? W.T. Hunt.
Well, what are they going to do with those? Somebody going to fix those cabins up? Or they gonna
Well,
tear
they
them
could
down?
build back, they said, because they hadn't been torn down. The people that bought it out of Jacksonville, they weren't anticipating spending that much money.
That's
So I don't know what they'll do.
Because I wondered when they started on that, somebody going to refurbish them or what?
Well, that's their intent. They were going to do it, and then they ran into the problem with EPA.
Yeah, outside of that, I was trying to think of,
Well, you had wonderful parents that taught you
yes,
the value of work
Yeah.
and the value of being a man of your own word. We could get in more trouble if we up and told a lie.
a lot of people that, Ohio, a lot of people went to Moline, Illinois.
And what was there?
Okay, International Harvester, John Deere,
Okay.
and McCormick Deering. Some of those were in Moline, Illinois. They went up there for manufacturing jobs, And people from West Virginia went to Ohio, and a lot of people from West Virginia was in Ohio. Timken Rollerberry. I left that out. I went up there for about 8 months. Yeah, I survived going up with Ophir Moss.
Who?
Ophir Moss off of Shooting Creek, and Ed Giles. You know Ed?
Oh, was he the one that had Giles, border hop?
I think so, yeah. Later,
I mean, down,
Yeah.
going to Warren?
Yeah.
The Giles?
Yeah. he had a 41 Buick, I think it was, and straight eight, convertible. Me and Norman Bradley rode up there with him. We get in, and him and Oprah had a couple of half gallons of Shine in there.
Oh, my gosh.
So I thought, oh my God, are we ever going to get there or not, you know? I worked for Timken for a while, and so they cut back, and I come home. Then went in the Navy after that. Coming back, Nut Sure had bought a new Ford, 1952 Ford. Girl that he later married came back with him, and I came back, rode back with him. I drove part of the way, and he'd drive part of the way. I don't think Nut went back after that. Then he got kind of into the car business here, and and all that down there. So married the girl that he brought back. But yeah, a lot of them. Well, half of Shooting Creek and Hiawassee was up there, and a boarding house over on 9th Avenue. Augie and Mert. Mert was. She was from Ohio there, and Augie he'd come from Italy, and when he was a kid, so he still had a heavy accent. You could still hear him now. You come home from work, he worked at Republic Steel, and he'd say, "Hey, Ma, how's some Ma? How's about a kiss, Ma?" And he'd say, "Ma, how's about some vino?" He had to have a little wine when he came home. But Mert was pretty good. She fed us good, kept a clean room in the house, and all. So. And then some of the others stayed over on Duber Avenue, I think it was, and a big boarding house over there. And that's where Ofer and Nut, and what later become my brother-in-law, Winford Burge.
Yeah, they'd go up there and work,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
Well, there wasn't anything here for them.
No.
I looked, in 2007, somebody sent you an invitation or a thank you to Tulsa, Arizona, Tucson,
yeah.
in 2007.
Yeah.
So you've been around, haven't you?
A little bit, yes. I've been in all the states, including Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Virgin Islands, Alaska, and I've been in all the Canadian provinces except Northwest Territory. I've been in Newfoundland.
Now, did you board a ship anytime?
I was in the Navy. I was up, first went to Alaska in the Navy in 1956, I guess it was, in January, of course. And so we went up there and took a bunch of Marines with Camp Pendleton, picked up about 400 Marines and loaded them up and took them up there. And they did their thing and then come back. But no,
Oh, this is the ship, all
Yeah.
right.
I can bring a better one for you to copy when I bring JL's.
I tell you what, this has been wonderful.
300 and about 380 foot long, 50 foot wide. You could take 400 troops, trucks, tanks, all that stuff. Doors on the bow opened up, ramp come down, unloaded trucks right on the beach. Water let us get over there.
But now, if we need to call you back, I guess she's done a lot more of this than I have. But we've got a lot of information.
Yeah. I've
Certainly
been
have.
tied. I was in the basement this morning there trying to get stuff. Oh my God, I got stuff I don't even remember that I ever had it,
When you start moving, you find it.
Oh, yes.
But thank you so much.
Okay, yep.